What's going on, guys? Christian here from CK Wraps. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you. I should have this video up before Christmas. Now, today I'm going to be doing a video on hardest vinyl wrap material for beginners. I did do an easiest one, let's do a hardest one now. If you guys are looking for more videos, exclusive content, 4K, discussion board, open location board, that sort of thing, and videos on how to handle material that is more difficult to install, go to my website, ckwraps.com. I'll put a link in the top corner and in the description below for you. Now, let's move on to the actual materials that we have here. The materials that we have here are three different brands, or one is actually a no-name brand. One is a Chinese brand based off of AliExpress or Alibaba or AliExpress, that sort of thing, eBay. That would be this carbon fiber and that yellowish color right there. In the middle, I have some 3M, and then on the right side over here, I have some Vvivid Gloss Riviera Blue. This is 3M Fierce Fuchsia, for those of you who are asking about the color, and then those two other ones over there, this is like a 40 carbon fiber or whatever you want to call it, just off of, again, AliExpress, and same thing with the yellow, just a regular basic kind of satin yellow finish. Now, there are certain things that make material more difficult to install when it comes time to actually install it. The finish is probably the number one. To maintain, or to be able to maintain the finish, is super important. Otherwise, what are we doing this for? So if we're not able to maintain a finish, a good finish in the end, and the material maybe doesn't even start out with a good finish, that makes it very hard to maintain a good finish. There are certain finishes, like chrome, for example, very hard to install. That wouldn't really matter from brand to brand to brand. They're all pretty difficult. To maintain the finish and keep it from hazing or cracking or anything like that is very difficult to do. Now, I try to keep it pretty straightforward here with two gloss colors, though nothing crazy about them, just gloss, the 3M Fierce Fuchsia and the Gloss Riviera Blue. Those two are the oddballs out because I don't have them in a gloss finish, but just to kind of show you what makes those materials difficult to install versus the two that are brand name. The two that are brand name, again, your install is subject to your ability, or the quality of your install is subject to your ability to install the product. These appear to be easy, when it's a regular gloss color like this. Should be easy, but it's not necessarily the truth. For me, I put 3M up there as far as hardest material to install goes. Other than the no-name stuff, out of most of the brands, I find that this is the hardest to actually maintain the finish. And I'm gonna show you what I mean by that. When we stretch this film here, it discolors, like massively discolors. This one over here, on the other hand, though, won't discolor quite as much. So when it comes to ease of install, this might just generally be pliable, more pliable, the 3M, than the Vvivid, but the Vvivid will allow you to stretch it a little bit more freely without discoloring the film or distorting the finish, while this one will not let you stretch it without distorting the finish. And I'm actually show you what that looks like. Those two guys over there, I mean, carbon fiber is one of those finishes that is very hard to maintain the finish, especially dry carbon fiber. Dry carbon fiber is hard to install without making it look like basically the car's got dents all over it, so keep that in mind. And then a matte finish is usually a little bit easier to install, but these films are actually hard to install because A, they're very rigid, and B, they have very high tack, but the adhesive the adhesive doesn't actually even grab properly, so it's actually very low tack. It's weird. It's so weird how that material works, that no-name stuff. While the other ones over here are both pretty high tack. Let's get onto it. Let's bring the camera in, and I'm going to show you some differences here. Another thing is the appearance of the finish. So let's say we can actually maintain the color. Well, how many glue lines and glue rings and things like that do we get when we're installing these finishes? Because some of those things are almost impossible to avoid sometimes. And I'll show you what happens when, and what that looks like when it happens. Let's do it. Let's bring the camera in. So right off the bat, I want you to notice one thing here. With the 3M Fierce Fuchsia, you can see a lot of the white hazing. See how the orange peel effect that it has, and it's really kind of got these white dots all over it? That would be more down in, I'm just trying to hit it with the white light for you. Down in this proximity right here, you're seeing it right here, all those white dots. It runs throughout the entire film. Ignore the scratches. You can even see there's like a line, I'm trying to get it on camera right there. So this already comes pre-manufactured into the roll, into the material. So when it comes to installing the film, it's only ever going to be so good. It's going to be only as good as that. Now, can you see it at all angles? No, you can't. If we go onto Vvivid, and again, I'll bring it over to some white light for you. Let's try and get it. The white hazing patches that you see, this has some scratches on it. It's an old piece. Ignore the scratches, like I said, even on the 3M, ignore the scratches because I haven't really taken care of it. But the haziness to the film and the orange peel to the film is a lot lower in this, and it's clearly visible as far as, just looking at it goes. So you can see from one side to the next. Now, it does have a little bit more orange peel because it is sitting on the release liner. As soon as we remove the release liner, both finishes will smooth out slightly. And then the other ones, there's not even any point in showing you because they're not gloss. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this film and this 3M. I'm going to remove the release liner, and we're going to stretch it, basically. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch both of these films, the Gloss Riviera Blue and the 3M, as equally as possible. Again, you can be the judge of that. But again, this is trying to do a fair comparison just to help you guys understand, what might make a material more difficult to install versus easier to install. And it's not necessarily just about the pliability. It's about maintaining the quality of the finish. So again, I have them both approximately the same width, same shape and size, right? And both gloss. Now someone's going to argue with me for sure about, one being purple and one being blue, how that's unfair. I mean, not every brand has exactly the same color across the board. So, to get the exact same color, I don't have it here, but that's all right. So, I'll let you guys kind of be the judge of this whole thing. All right. Of course, we're getting some swirl marks in it and scratches and stuff like that. So what I want to do is I want to bring them up to about the same point, right up here. So they're both making contact around the same point. We're going to take it from that line right there and we're going to heat and stretch. What I will do is I'll mark it with tape actually as well, so you can sort of see how far down we're bringing it. So I've got some tape. Let's take it and mark the area that we're going to be stretching out, basically. So right above here and here. From this spot right here. And then let's take it and try and stretch them as equally as possible. What I'll do is I'll stretch one side first, and then I'll try and match the other side to it, okay? That'll be the goal here. So again, I'll just put tape right there right now. This way, when I stretch this one down, we're gonna actually see how far down the tape goes, and then I'll take this next one over here, and I'll match this tape up to that tape there, and we'll get a pretty exact amount of stretch from both sides. And I actually have to split this here. Actually, I don't have to split this here, it doesn't matter. That's just gonna stay planted. Cool. Let's do this. Let's lift the 3M up right up to the tape. You can see it's right at that line. We're going to take this and we're going to stretch it out just mainly in that area there. So that's where the heating is going to take place. And that's where I'm going to, again, focus the heat gun in that area all the way across. I'm just trying to stay out of the camera's way. It's a little bit difficult. Okay, everything's looking nice and soft and smooth. Let's take it, let's stretch it out. And I'm not gonna go crazy far, okay? So where do we go? You can even almost take a measurement here. From this piece of tape to the other piece of tape. So I'm just gonna squeegee this down, and I'm sure you can already see the finish has changed quite a bit. Yeah, and ignore the scratches and stuff like that. Ignore these wrinkles here, whatever. So all I wanted you to see is the actual change in finish here. Let's do the same to the blue. Again, I'm gonna match up the tape that's here to here, or from here to here. Again, stretching in the same box, so we can all see this. I didn't even stretch that very much. That was like 4 inches. I mean, you guys can see just by eye, that's maybe 4 inches, 5 inches max. But again, it's over a smaller area, so we end up possibly, distorting the film in a smaller area. Okay, so it feels pliable. Let's take it, and I'm able to grab it a little bit better here. Let's take it and stretch it and line it up. I'll even stretch it a little bit past, okay? Let's stretch it past and see what happens there. So, for me, it's 100% clearly obvious right now. I can see even though they stretched this further, the blue, there's no change in the finish. Let's bring the camera in so you can actually see what I'm seeing, in case you're not seeing it from my angle or you want to see it from other angles. All right, so everyone see this line right here, this pink line? Where it gets really light, there you go. Pretty obvious, right? Right under the tape, right where I started heating and stretching. Now everyone's, again, they're gonna probably say, oh, it's the color, whatever, this and that. It's the material, it's the brand, guys, okay? This is very consistent with a lot of their films. While over here, and again, I'll try and get as many angles as I can here. I can get out of the light and everything. Other than scratches from my squeegee, I see nothing. This is just PPF under here, just so you know. So I am wrapping over PPF. That's what that line is right here. So again, we're going to try and take this from as many angles as possible. But you know, when we look at it dead on, even when we compare dead on to dead on, you can see the massive difference here, and then nothing over here. And that's with more stretch. Now, what would happen if I did stretch this a little bit more? Let's do it. Let's lift the film up and stretch it even further. I'm going to go past, well past where 3M is. Now I've got to hold this tight so it doesn't shrink down, so I don't want it to shrink back. Again, this is just showing you the difference in the ease of install. So even though Vvivid may be a little bit more rigid, let's say, you're going to be able to maintain your finish a lot easier, even if you overstretch the film. So let's go ahead and kill it right now. Let's do it. Way past, guys, okay? I went double the length of what this one was. Again, squeegeeing it out, I see no change in color whatsoever. Let's do the Fierce Fuchsia by 3M a little bit more. I'll lift that back up to that point again, same as I did with the blue. Again, heat it, I'm gonna hold it tight, stretch it a little further. And keep it in the same box. I'm just heating in between the tape. And honestly, the pullback that I feel on my left hand right now, when I'm heating this, it feels a lot more. So it feels like the film is actually shrinking and pulling back a lot harder, a lot more aggressively. Okay, so I'm just trying to make it pliable. Let's do this. Let's pull it tight and let's match it. Match it up right there. Pretty darn terrible. Let's put a piece of the original color over top. So I'm gonna cut some of this off from the bottom, and we're gonna see what the original color looks like versus the color that's in the middle right now. Trying to keep everything running the same direction. I didn't turn it or anything like that, just kept it the same way. Okay, this piece on the bottom here, unstretched. This piece on the bottom here of the 3M is also unstretched. So let's take it and then put that in the middle there. Wow, what a difference. So, one of those things, and you can clearly see a massive difference with these two finishes now. That's cut off from the exact same piece, guys. You can see it. I didn't turn it in any direction at all. And then there's your Gloss Riviera Blue by Vvivid. Much easier to install because you can actually maintain the finish on it a lot better. Let's talk about air bubbles. Another thing that's common with films is trapping air, okay? Trapping air in the film can lead to air bubbles. Let's take this off. What I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna trap some air for you. We're gonna use this piece that's unscathed. Just put that down there. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and put some air bubbles in the middle here. I'm trying to make an air bubble right now. See what happens when we do this. Okay, so right now, that's an air bubble. That's not going away. That's not going away without either poking a hole. It's not a very good air bubble. It's hard to make a good air bubble. I'm trying to make a nice one here. All right. Air bubble happens when sometimes we we are squeegeeing and we miss an area, then we have to go back to squeegee it. Let's bring the camera a little closer. So I don't know if you can see that, but it's right here. Now let's take 3M. We'll take an unscathed piece down here. We'll discard the rest. And make an air bubble in 3M as well. It's usually pretty easy to make a air bubble in 3M because the air channels collapse very easily and they locks a lot of air in. So again, that's another disadvantage to installing the film because it locks air in. Vvivid does the same thing, and they all do the same thing to an extent, but I find that 3M locks a lot of air bubbles in. As far as the air release technology goes, I don't find it works all that well. So if we have this air bubble right here, what we have to do is, because it won't usually go away, we have to push down on it, or we have to poke a hole in it. We want to poke a hole in it. Normally what you do is you take a bit of heat, you take an air release tool, you heat it like this, you see that one moving, and then you poke a hole on the side, okay? Then you can just kind of squeegee the air bubble out. That didn't work out that well. Let's do it again. And then usually the air bubble will just go away. Didn't work out perfectly this time, that's fine. Okay, what I'm trying to show you here is basically around here, there's gonna be no glue line. Over here, we're gonna have a massive glue ring. So let's do this, take it, heat it. Again, didn't work out very well. Okay. Still doesn't work. When they're this big, they're a little harder to do. So again, something that you want to try to avoid is getting air bubbles in your wrap. Just push down on it. I'm not going to add any more heat. Okay, it's even really hard to get the air bubble out. At that point, I was able to get Vvivids away, and then we have tiny ones in here that I almost can't even get out anymore because the air channels have collapsed. Let's bring the camera in so you can actually see what I see from my point of view. So I'm going to try and find an angle here where I can show you the glue ring. Need some light to hit it. All right, so where are we? We're right here. There we go. Try and get that light on there. There. You see that? See how messy and sloppy that looks? That's just glue underneath the wrap. So by pushing down on an air bubble, a lot of this has happened. Over here, I gotta find it again before, right here, okay, it's all this area. Right here. Right in that area. You can see it slightly, okay? Not quite as messy. There we go. So it's right here. There's some up here, some glue lines, you can see them. They are there. Not as predominant as 3M. That's a visually noticeable difference in both materials, okay, and how they respond to heat and stretching and things like that. Let's try some of the Chinese stuff, and I want to talk about this, this no-name stuff over here. Now, is it good to practice with this kind of stuff? Yeah, you could practice with it. Is it going to give you a good real-world scenario? Yeah, it'll give you generally a pretty good idea on how to wrap something. Will it be 100%? Ideal? Not really, but you know, it's okay to practice with this stuff if you really want to. Not something that I would want to leave on my car. Let's take some of this film, and I'll just cut it shorter actually. I'll cut it in half. We're going to take it, we're going to heat it, we're going to stretch it. I'm going to do some to this mat over here as well. We're going to take it, heat it, and stretch it. This film is actually pretty hilarious. It's pretty much falling off of the release liner. Like I haven't even touched this, it's falling off the release liner. Let's take this, we're gonna stick this down on the hood, we're gonna heat it and we're gonna stretch it. We're gonna see what happens to the color. It's crazy how much this sticks. Like it's stuck but it's like not stuck. You can see how smooth, if I squeegee it down, how smooth this comes out. Very easy. I could peel this up with my two pinkies right off the bat. Now, will it cure a little bit over time? Of course, they all cure a little bit over time. But I mean, even Avery, as low of tack that it is, even initially, even after you just place it down, it feels very sticky, but it is not very sticky at all. Like just very effortlessly lifting the film. And it also traps air like crazy. So squeegeeing air out of it is very hard. Again, will it give you something to practice with that's fairly inexpensive? For sure. But is it ideal to leave on your car or sell? Not ideal at all. Okay, so again, this is exactly pretty much the same stuff. Very, very low tack to the surface level. Nothing at all. But very sticky to the touch. Let's take the film, let's heat it, and let's stretch it. I'm not even going to bother marking it with some tape. You'll probably just see it. So let's take it up to here. Somewhere around there. Let's heat that line, or somewhere around that line. Take it and stretch it. I'm going to actually do this with less heat and over a larger area. And we'll see if it responds similar to 3M at all or Vvivid. All right. Now it is a matte finish, but matte finishes are usually pretty difficult to install because they get shiny. Now I can see a bit of a line from here to here, but nothing that is that crazy. I'll bring the camera in so you can see. So I can see it, and you can see it. I'll stay out of the light. So the line is actually, I'm having a hard time seeing it, right here. See it? It's hard to see. I stretched that quite a bit, okay? I wasn't messing around. Now again, very, very low tack. I'll just pick it up, watch. Very easy, guys. Not trying at all. Would you want to trust that long term? Probably not. This particular film is very rigid, so even when it comes to stretching it, it's not that easy. Let's heat it. Let's do the same here. But all film gets soft with heat. It smells so weird. All right, and you're gonna see a line as well. The only one that didn't really get a line was Vvivid's Gloss Riviera Blue. Bring it in. And that's the PPF, but just above it, right here, you see it right there, there's your line. Shouldn't be stretching the film that far anyways. And that's it, guys. Purpose of this demonstration to show you how a film that's sold as very easy to install isn't necessarily easy, and what you think might be easy isn't easy. Just because it's a solid gloss color doesn't mean it's easy, and it's by a brand that's very famous doesn't mean it's easy. For me, and personally speaking, that solid gloss color is very hard to install, especially for a beginner. You're going to end up overstretching the film, or stretching it. By overstretching, I mean discoloring the film just by simply stretching it to try and get it around a bumper, a fender, a mirror, a door handle, shark fin antenna, trunk, that sort of thing. I mean, lots of these panels on a vehicle need to be stretched at least the amount that I stretched that Fierce Fuchsia on the hood. Again, showing you that Vvivid, maybe a little bit more rigid, takes a bit more heat to get warm and soft. It maintains its finish a little bit better. And then the Chinese stuff, again, something to practice with if you really want to, but really not really worthwhile installing on a vehicle and leaving it on there. Going to have massive issues down the road. I'm going to tell you that 100%. This adhesive is extremely terrible, okay? Extremely terrible. It's mainly the adhesive. I don't care about the finishes and things like that. As far as glue goes, it's there, but it feels like it's not there. It's really strange. Again, I hope the video was informative and helpful for you guys. Looking forward to doing some more videos for you. If you like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget the subscribe button. Again, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Take care.